Hello, this is Max Thompson, and this is another devlog video for our master's project Cadenza. Um, just a quick recap: Cadenza is a rhythmic violence-based game where you progress through a office block to reach the top and defeat bosses and enemies along the way using rhythmic music-based combat. In the last devlog, I believe it's been quite a while to be honest. I have been on holiday. I believe it was just looking at the blood stuff and the implementation of that finally. We'll have to double check, but it has been a while since I've recorded one of these. Been on holiday and been doing some more like research and such for the project because this devlog is going to be about enemy AI. I don't really know where these guys are floating, but that's besides the point. So, anyway, it took me quite a bit to realize how I wanted it and how I would implement it. Because it's been a while since I've messed around with like behavior trees and like AI controls and such. So having to sort of relearn that has been an experience. I did it quite a while ago, very basically, in my undergrad study at Bournemouth. But that was purely just for a chase the player sort of AI setup. Nothing really else was used in it, and it was only for like 1 to 2 enemies. With this one, you can see there's quite a few more. But yeah, so the basic sort of setup with the AI is I wanted it so that the enemies would surround the player, and then either one by one or within set intervals they would then attack the player. This would then allow, similarly to how I've approached the previous sort of mechanics of the game, would work as like a base sort of groundwork that I can then build upon for the other enemies when they get implemented. But having this would then be a lot easier to then just chop and change stuff when needed. And I feel like it's at a good point now where I can show it at its base level, because any sort of changes after this would be then more specific to the enemy type, like with the distance, what attacks they're going to use and such. But let's give you a quick example of how it works. So hopefully you can see this window. So I spawn into the world, and you can see straight away the enemies have perceived me, and they have started to surround me, and they've started to attack me one by one. The interval in between attacks is quite short at the moment, purely because I wanted basically the testing and the debugging to be quick, and also testing how fast or slow the attacks should be. But you can see here, so the 4 enemies, when they spawned in, they would use the built-in AI perception with Unreal that I've just attached to the enemy blueprint. Using a vision, they've got very wide peripheral vision. At the moment, I think it's about 90 degrees. So if you're stood even slightly in front of their peripheral vision, they'll see you. What happens then is they get added to an array. Well, actually, there's 2 main things that are happening. There's a behavior tree for the surrounding feature for like the enemy, and then there's a AI handler, which is that little Death Star looking thing over there. That's handling the combat queue and also the enemies within the level. So that's going to be used at a later date for like enemy counting and other aspects of the code that would be needed for the total enemy count within a level, such as unlocking the elevators when all the enemies are dead, potentially counting the amount of enemies within the level during the level, and also how many you've killed up to that point. But you can see here, yeah, they're just rotating one by one. They're attacking me, moving back to another position, moving towards me to attack. And if I actually show the debugging, so this is the AI. Let me just Oh, there it is, because I had the combat. This is the little AI debugger. So if I run around, you can see all the, I don't know why I'm pointing at my screen, all the AI controllers that are within the level have a little face above them. I just realised that's a face. Yeah, they've all got a face above them, which shows that they're being used correctly within the behavior tree, and they've currently got a behavior tree running. I'll show you in a second how the behavior tree works, but that basically just means that they're AI controlled and they're ready to search for a player. But as you can see, at some points they go red. What that means is that the logic has stopped and they're attempting to attack the player. So you can see, oh, so you see this guy, he's trying to move towards me because he's red, and now he's going to attack me. So when they get within a certain distance, they will then attack. So if I, like this guy here, I'll get him to chase me. See, he's going to chase me forever, basically, until he can get within a certain distance and then attack me. But when I implement it, you'll be able to dodge the attacks and such. Basically, it'll just be a little notify window during that attack, where if the player's dodging, they won't be able to take damage, or they'll take a reduced amount of damage. But that allows basically like a sort of more Dark Souls-esque dodge system to an extent, because they use more physical-based, like sort of dodging in a way for some of their attacks. But basically, that's how it's going to work with the dodging. Let me turn that off. But yeah, basically, also got a little debugger printing in the top showing which enemy is trying to attack next, and I'll show you in a second where that's coming from. But the overall idea of it is the enemies will surround the player, and then as they're within the array, a random enemy within the array gets chosen. If they've already attacked, it will then try to choose another one, unless there's only one left in the array. Because if there's only one in the array, and they've just attacked, and they go, well, you can't attack again because you just attacked, they're never going to attack you again. So basically I've set it where if it's more than one enemy within the array, it will choose a random one. Otherwise, it will always choose the slot 1. You can see here, sometimes they do get a bit close. So basically, just with how the code works, they can get a little bit close once they've moved towards you. But then the AI logic refires and then they move away. So you never really get stuck per se, because after a while they do just move away from you. So if you for some reason can't attack, like now I don't have an amp equipped, I'm basically fine because I can move away again. But yeah, no damage is implemented just yet. I just wanted to get the actual AI working. The damage will be super simple. It'll just be notify windows during the animations, similarly to how I've done it with the player, which will then allow for damage, sphere tracing, dodging options, that sort of thing, like I mentioned earlier. But if we get a few more evil dudes in the AI, so you can see they're all getting added. When it tries to add a lot at one go, I will say, it does sometimes take a little bit for them to register that they're actually seeing me. It's probably just something with the amount of AI that can be perceived at once with the code that I'm using. But you can see here, loads of dudes surrounding me. There's probably not going to be this many enemies in the level at once in the actual game. I mean, there could be, but we shall see upon testing. But this is purely just to stress test the amount of enemies that you can have at once with the AI still running correctly. So if I actually get this open again, so you can see with how the sort of surrounding code works and how the pathfinding works, it's using a nav mesh, obviously, because with AI you basically need to have a nav mesh. So sometimes the enemies can get a little confused. Like, see this guy, I'm right in front of him, but for some reason he can't really find a path. So something to work on, but I think it's just because with the amount of enemies, like while I'm moving, if I actually turn this off because that's going to hurt my eyes otherwise. I do need to turn off all of that debugging code. That's annoying. But you can see here, basically as I'm moving around, that attack still needs to get fixed. They still try to attack me. So like that guy just tried to attack me, and then this guy is going to attack me. That guy attacked me. All these guys are going to attack me. There we go. Basically, yeah. Still works, even after killing some of their mates. They also have lowered HP, by the way, just for pure testing. Because I did find earlier on where there was a bug where if you were killing the enemies as a part of the AI was firing, if for some reason it occurred at a certain point, then no AI would try to attack you again. Like, it would just get confused. It would assume someone is already attacking when no one's attacking. And then it would just go, well, no one else can attack because this guy's still trying to attack, but he's dead. And they would just stand there, moving about. But you can see here, fix that issue. They're still attacking, even after someone's dead. So that guy, he didn't die all the way. And with how the code is implemented, sometimes some of the enemies do attack multiple times at once. So that could add more like excitement or potentially to the gameplay, because you could get like double hit, or it could just be annoying. We don't really know yet fully, but once we test it in the game, I feel like having some enemies do multiple attacks at once adds a bit more randomness, and I suppose they're just button mashing. You have to be careful with your dodges, because when damage is actually implemented, so like this guy tries to attack, see I dodged into him and he attacked me. This guy, bang. You can sort of tell when they're about to attack you because they move towards you, but it's the timing with the animation. So this guy, bang, dodged. This guy, bang, dodged. This guy, dodged. See, it's a bit easier when there's one by one, but if they do multiple guys at once, so like bang, you can see. But like you might have seen from the videos from before, the actual levels are not going to be this open. I think like the most open is probably going to be DreamHack, but that's with after all the desks have been destroyed. But you can see, like that guy's going to come to attack me. Bang. Now 35. Bang. 35 again. 26. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So you can see, I mean, there's still some errors that come up, but that's fine, just with some accessing issues that need to be fixed. But yeah, the overall way it works is there. So the first thing I'll show you with the code, just a quick little look at the behavior tree. I initially approached it with two ways, just so I could try both and see which one I liked. So the first sort of iteration was just a simple get the player location. If I open this, yes, it does still work. It basically just executes the code and gets the player within a set distance. I believe it was using it with a donut, but I was finding after the code had been run for them to attack, because the enemies weren't moving away, they were just sticking to the player because they were within the distance to attack. They'd attacked and there was nothing to then tell them to move back to the preset distance. So instead they were just surrounding the player and the player was getting stuck. So instead I decided to opt back and go with the other option, which is a EQS. So an EQS, basically it makes a set of locations around the player and then runs a code when the enemy is moving. it finds an empty space within those. So is there an enemy already in that one? Okay, cool, we'll try the next one. Is there an enemy in this one? No. Okay, so I'll move to that one. And this took a while for me to sort of roughly figure out. Because you can see here, you can set the number of rings around the player, points per ring, the inner radius. Let me actually change that to 500 for now. Basically, yeah, it was just using a set of rings with different points per ring. So you got 3 rings, 5 points per ring, so you got 15 points. Let's actually change that back to let's go for 10. I haven't actually tried it with 10, but just to show, yeah, that's fine. I did have a testing pawn. Will this still work? No. For some reason, I had a testing pawn to show where the rings would appear. I think it's because I removed that. But for some reason, it just decided to not show it anymore. But I was using this during the setup just to, yeah, that's not doing it. That's fine. Basically just to show what the rings look like. I think it might just be because I turned off a config. But maybe if I simulate. No? Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me just, yeah, that's fine. Go back onto this. So now there we are. So we get a couple more dudes. Come on in. Test the rings. Because we've got 10 points per ring now. So there should be a lot wider field of surrounding. Because they'll have basically 30 points possible to move to. Like you can see, some of them do for some reason just get stuck all the way at the back if you move away, if they're like at the furthest point. It's a bit annoying, but it's fine for now. Because in the actual gameplay you'll be moving about punching them instead of just standing around letting them hit you. But you can see here, punch punch, more kicks. Maybe I'll lower it from 10. But yeah, basically the EQS is working a lot better for the surrounding logic compared to just the general donut ring radius. Purely for the fact of once they've attacked, like I mentioned, they'll move back. But it does have its own sort of issues. It's probably just mainly from the wait time, because every time that they move, it will then wait and then do it again. So it could be a case of just lowering or amending the wait time between movements. But that's just something else to play around with, because the actual code of it itself is basically working. But I will show you the AI handler. So the little Death Star will be in each level. Do you mind? Basically just to handle the enemy AI, funnily. So let's show the initial bit. So you've got the begin play as normal, just to set some variables, and it also clears the array just in case for some reason they've got something in there. And then once the enemy not on this one, it's on check for target. So during the actual AI handling, once it's seen the player, it will call the AI handler, and then it will check, is the enemy already in the array? If so, just go straight to saying the next enemy to attack, because there's no need to add it again to the array, because it will just fill the array with the same one over and over again. If it isn't in the array, it will add it to the array, print its name to show it's been added, and then it will then call this. This is the little code I was using just to fix the issue. Basically, if it was getting to a point where the enemy was attacking is set to true, it was doing nothing, so then it was just looping and not attacking again. So what I've just done is I've got a little delay and then just set it back to false, and then it will reroute. But the setting enemy to attack, so it gets the length of the array, which is all the possible points within it, and then it will get a random integer. It will check that the random actor isn't already the attacking actor, just so it doesn't attack again, and that the array is greater than 1. So if both of these are correct, it will then set that to the attacking enemy, and then it will play an attack combo on the dummy enemy. If either of these are false, so if it's not the same, then it will, or if it's less than 1, or greater than, anyway, just change that. Basically, if it's only one person in there and it's the same, it will obviously then fire and then attack the enemy. And then with the attack combo, basically it does a move to location with the AI controller, and it will move towards the player within a set radius, and then once it's moved towards him, it will then choose a random attack and just play that attack. Very simple, very straightforward. I was going to try and do a combo thing, but I realised they'd all just do the same attacks in the same sort of order, so I thought just having some randomness would be a lot easier, because then we can add multiple attack animations and such, and then just go from there. But yeah, basically, enemy AI groundwork for attacking and finding the player, surrounding the player and such, is there. The only other changes I'd have to make now would be updating the enemy blueprints once they've been made for the individual enemy types with the different animations, different meshes, that sort of stuff. Probably the boss AI. I'll lower the radius that it can move within, but to be honest, it should be okay. I'll just lower the walking speed, and probably the amount of points, but that will come to testing at that point, because having it all come off the same base groundwork is a lot easier for re-implementation. So for example, if I've got a ranged guy, okay, you won't go within that first ring, you'll only stay within the out 2, and then when you attack you won't move to the player, you'll instead just do your animation, which will then fire a projectile maybe, which can then be changed on the child blueprint instead of having just a move to instead, so then they can fire from any distance. Or if there's like a up close sort of attacker, it'll only be within a set distance and only do certain animations. But AI has been figured out, AI has been implemented, I'm happy with how it's been working. The next main thing now is we've got a I forgot the name of it, milestone session on Monday, because today is Friday. We'll check in with everyone, check in with how Kirk has been implementing the Fmod. Saw a glimpse of it the other week, and it's looking really good with the timing of the hits with the music. So once he's happy with that on his end, it will then be a case of merging the projects together with the levels. So we've finally got one project to work from. Can be potentially take a little bit to get that implemented because he's on a slightly older build. it'll be fine. I haven't really added too much to the player. These are all separate bits with the AI, so it's quite easy to implement over. Worst comes worst, I can just copy and paste what he's done into this, and then just fiddle around with it while he's there. And then moving it into the level project, adding all the meshes. Martha's been working on skybox and concept art, which has been really helpful. Tom's been doing some modelling, so we get that implemented as well. But yeah, the bulky stuff is basically nearly done. It would just be a case of just getting everything on the same project, making sure it's all working still, changing around a few project settings, and then adding everything else, adding in the gameplay loop, setting up the game instancing, because I did have a look at that a while back, but I wasn't really able to do too much of it without having everything in the project, hence why I did the AI stuff. But now that's done, then yeah, let's go from there. But yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for listening to me ramble about boring enemy AI, and watching the little dude get attacked and surrounded. But yeah, thank you for watching, like I said, and we'll see you in the next Cadenza devlog stuff. When I upload these, I'll probably try and get some of the music added in at some point. That's another thing I forgot to mention. I think Kirk's finalising the music stuff now, but I think he was focusing more on getting the F-Mod dud stuff first, before polishing off the music, just to make sure that it was all working. But yeah, once we've got that sort of ready to go, we'll get that shown off. But yeah, thank you everyone. Bye bye.